The clinking of her wine glass against the kitchen island was a familiar, almost comforting sound. Except lately, that comfort had been replaced by a dull ache in my gut. Ollie had always loved the ritual of our Friday night wind-downs. We'd order takeout, uncork a bottle of something nice, and unwind from the week. Tonight, though, felt different. She was animated, laughing a little too freely at some anecdote about work. Her eyes sparkled with a mirth that seemed almost foreign to our usual Friday routine. "Oh, stop it, Oliver," she giggled, her hand briefly covering her mouth, a gesture I hadn't seen in months. He's such a goofball. Oliver, that was the name that always seemed to slip into our conversations lately. Oliver from work, her work friend. I remember when Oliver first entered the picture. Ollie's stories about him were innocuous, almost dismissive. He was a quirky newbie, the butt of office jokes. Then gradually, the stories shifted. They were peppered with inside jokes, shared commutes, late-night project collaborations. The late nights were the most painful, honestly. The nights when she'd come home hours after a shift ended, claiming traffic or a sudden deadline. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But a small, insidious voice kept whispering in the back of my mind. I tried to shake it off, to chalk it up to work stress, to the fact that our lives had fallen into a predictable, almost mundane rhythm. We'd been married for 7 years, and maybe I thought this was just a natural part of the ebb and flow of any long-term relationship. I told myself over and over that I was just being insecure, that she loved me, that we were good, that we were okay. But tonight, her laughter, that bright, unfamiliar sparkle in her eyes, felt like a slap. As I sat across from her, feigning interest in her story about Oliver, a sense of cold resolve began to grow inside me. It wasn't anger. Not yet. It was a quiet, determined hunger for truth. The next morning, Ollie left early for her Pilates class, a routine she had also recently developed. I waited until the coast was clear, then carefully retrieved her phone from the charger in our bedroom. I didn't want to do this. Really, it felt like a violation, a betrayal of the trust we had always shared. But the feeling in my gut was stronger than my ethics. I scrolled through her messages, my heart pounding with each swipe. There were texts with Oliver, mundane, work-related exchanges, the kind you'd expect. Then came the casual emojis, the heart eyes, the pet names. My stomach dropped with the realization that my gut feeling wasn't just insecurity after all. It was intuition. The messages continued. Late-night work meetups, accidental hand brushes, a promise of a secret lunch next week. I felt myself beginning to tremble. My entire world had shifted, and the ground felt like it would give way beneath me. But the text messages weren't what I was looking for. I didn't want digital breadcrumbs. I needed something concrete, something undeniable. I navigated to her voicemail. There was only one, a missed call from Oliver that had rolled over to voicemail a few nights ago. I pressed play. "Hey, Ollie, it's me. I just want to say that thing you said at the bar tonight about how you and your husband. I can't even repeat it. You are seriously hilarious. I'm still laughing about it. Anyway, just want to say goodnight. Can't wait to see you tomorrow." The message ended abruptly with a little chuckle that, in retrospect, was sinister. I felt numb. The laughter, the inside joke, the casual dismissal of my entire existence, the casual cruelty of it all, felt like a physical blow. This wasn't just a flirtation, a harmless dalliance. This was a betrayal, a calculated act of disrespect. My vision blurred with a surge of cold, white rage. I wanted to scream, to break things, to make them hurt the way I was hurting. But I didn't. Instead, I took a deep breath, closed her phone, and placed it back on the charger. The revenge, I decided, wouldn't be a screaming match, a petty argument, or a broken window. It would be deliberate, meticulously crafted, and deeply satisfying. First, I called in sick to work. I needed time to process, time to plan. I spent the day doing all the things I had put off for too long. I did the yard work that had been neglected. I organized the garage. All the mundane, everyday tasks that had been ignored while I was working hard. It was therapeutic. I went through all of the files on our computer. I meticulously cataloged every financial record, every asset, everything of value. I contacted a lawyer, a close friend who specialized in divorce cases, and explained the situation to him, detailing everything I found on her phone, including the damning voicemail, and made it clear that I wanted to do everything to protect myself in the coming months. He walked me through the options. The next day, Ollie breezed through the door, her face flushed from her Pilates class, a cheerful smile plastered on her face. "Hey, honey, you okay? You sounded sick on the phone yesterday," she asked, kissing me lightly on the cheek. I met her gaze with a calm, steady stare. "Actually, I feel great," I said, my voice even. "I finally understand what you meant yesterday. I get the joke now, the one with Oliver." Her smile faltered for a second, her eyes widening with what I knew was a combination of surprise and a twinge of guilt. What are you talking about?" she stammered, her voice losing its confident edge. I held up her phone. "This," I said simply, pressing play on Oliver's voicemail. The air in the room became thick, suffocating. I watched as the color drained from her face, the familiar sparkle in her eyes replaced with a look of absolute terror. Her hand flew to her mouth as if trying to physically erase her own words. I can explain," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "There's nothing to explain, Ollie," I said, my voice devoid of emotion. "I know everything." The next few hours were a blur. I watched her crumble, watched the confident facade she had carefully constructed over the past few months fall apart piece by piece. I presented her with the carefully organized financial records. I told her about the lawyer. I calmly laid out my plans for the divorce. The reality of her actions crashed down on her like a tidal wave. She begged, she cried, she promised to change, but it was too late. The trust had been irrevocably broken. That same day, I decided to pay Oliver a visit. I got to their office building before he even got to the front door. I sat in my car until he arrived, and when he did, I got out and walked straight toward him. He looked surprised to see me. "Hey, you must be," he said, squinting at my face and trying to put a name with it. "Ali's husband, right?" he asked, his voice laced with a nervous laugh. "That's right," I said, my voice low and threatening. I took another step closer. "You thought that was pretty funny, didn't you? The joke she told you about me, about our marriage?" His eyes darted around as if looking for an escape. "Look, man, he started, his voice cracking. I stepped right into his face. I could have hit him. I felt like I could have killed him. But I just stared at him, my eyes burning into him. "You have no idea," I said. "No idea the amount of hurt and pain you've caused. I just wanted you to know that." Then I turned and walked away, leaving him standing there alone. The divorce was swift and efficient. My lawyer was ruthless, ensuring that she would not get away with a betrayal. She moved out of the house, her possessions carefully packed, her life uprooted. I didn't ask where she was going. I didn't want to know. I had taken my life back, and in doing so, had found a power I didn't know I possessed. The initial rage had subsided, replaced by a profound sense of relief. I had confronted my demons, and I had emerged bruised but unbroken. I was free. The weeks turned into months. I sold our house, the house where our lives had once intertwined and where my marriage had died, and moved to a new place, a fresh start. I spent time with my friends. I traveled. I took up old hobbies I had abandoned years ago. I slowly began to rebuild my life, brick by brick. One evening, several months after the divorce, I was at a local bar having drinks with a few friends when I noticed a figure sitting alone in the corner booth. It was Oliver. He looked gaunt, his eyes sunken, his once confident demeanor completely gone. He was staring into the middle distance with a look of despair and regret. The woman he thought he had a future with had discarded him like trash. It was only then that I realized the true depth of her betrayal. She didn't only hurt me. She had used him, abused his trust, manipulated him the same way she had manipulated me. I felt a strange mix of pity and satisfaction wash over me. It was an acknowledgement that, in a way, justice had been served. There was a certain poetic justice to seeing him alone, knowing that the woman they had both pursued had left them both in the end. She had destroyed 2 lives, and now he was beginning to feel it. And for me, I had come through it all scarred but ultimately free. I finished my drink and turned back to my friends, finally able to smile, a genuine smile, one that had nothing to do with jokes or games, and everything to do with finally moving on. I knew that there were still wounds that would take time to heal, but I was confident that I would heal. I had survived, and that was more than enough. So guys, if you all liked today's story, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon. Thank you for watching.